thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it. How's things?
Yeah, things are great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
worries. Obviously, exciting times with the new album coming out on Friday. How are you guys all feeling about it?
mate, right now we're all pretty chuffed about it. I guess like wrapped up the the last little bits and pieces we needed to for a little video drop on Friday, and now we wait really. So we're pretty stoked. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
other
obviously, that waiting period is a bit of a tough time for bands. How do you kind of deal with all that sort of stuff, when you finish recording and all that stuff, and then you have to wait for the release date? I mean, how do you sort of deal with that kind of thing?
yeah, good question. I mean, a lot of us just stay busy really. Like there's a lot that goes into both parts really. I let the boys kind of the boys write it, the boys record it a lot themselves, and then my part is kind of the rest of it. I help make sure it gets out there, help with all the art and all that crap, just make sure all that gets tied together. So try to stay busy. Been touring as well, so that's helped.
Mm.
Yeah, just staying busy really.
Yeah. Speaking of the touring, I know you just come back from Europe recently. So how did that all go?
Yeah, we did. That was fucking insane. A lot of us, that was our first time overseas in general. So, long, painful flight, but was so worth it, man. The crowds over there are sick, and just crazy experience for us, really.
Obviously, with a first sort of run like that for some of the members, you mentioned about first time overseas. That must be a very, very eye-opening experience. What did you guys sort of take away from that tour then?
I mean, mate, we could chat about that particular topic for hours, right? That we learned a lot on that tour. I mean, it was like considering the fact that the longest tour we could do in Australia is what, like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we've hit everywhere you can possibly play. Like not even that, right? Like
Yeah.
10 shows, but we did close to 30 over there non-stop. And it was like, fuck, this is very much what it takes,
Yeah.
This is make or break. So kind of learn a lot about ourselves, and yeah, we're just stoked that we could, come through on the other side in one piece, really.
So how did you feel coming at the other end of that? Did you feel like you were kind of done and you were like ready for a break, or did you want to do more and more of those shows?
Oh, like t it was funny. Like it was just the flight, really. The flight is the only pain in the ass thing because once you get on that,
Mm.
not even once you get on, once we got to Hong Kong and had to switch, it was like, God damn, like we're not doing this again for fucking um. But you get off and then like get back into like working and shit like that. You're like, nah, fuck, I'd give anything to be back out there. So
Yeah, obviously it's a great experience to have, and obviously many people are sort of envious of how doing those kind of runs. But what about the response from the fans over there? How did they sort of come back to you as far as like responding to your music and your show and stuff?
yeah, man, honestly crazy. For me, I think it was just a bit of a spin out seeing like we go to Poland, for example, where especially where we were, the English was slim at best, but
Mm.
a lot of these kids who could barely speak English knew all the words to my songs, and it's like, what the fuck, that's crazy. Yeah, just little spin out moments like that, where, but like on top of that, obviously we playing with the bands we played with, and like some of those crowds were quite big, and we were like probably some of the biggest indoor crowds we've played, and we were a bit shook before it, but it all like every show was pretty fucking crazy, honestly. So um, yeah, crazy crowds. Um,
Did
not
you
much people.
find much difference at all with the European crowds compared to Aussie crowds at all? And it's something that I've asked a lot of bands as well, and I kind of get different answers on that. Sometimes I get like metalheads across the world are all the same, for the most part, and sometimes some countries sort of get into it a bit more. How did you find the crowds over there compared to what you're used to over here?
Yeah, good question. I don't know if it was just um like I don't know what it was with some of these shows, but like being an opening band, I mean, it could have been the fact that this tour was announced like 3 years ago and had to stop and start due to COVID and all that. And
Yeah.
all these kids had tickets for so long that they were just so keen. But we'd get on thinking we'd have to kind of warm up for these other bands, and they'd instantly go mental. And they were really, really responsive to like for example, I think it was Italy. I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. I kind of jumped down onto the barrier, turned around, and kind of leant into the crowd a little bit. Instantly, they picked up what I was putting down, grabbed me, and just like started throwing me into the air. And it was like, all right, this is fucking cool. Like just for the just for the photo. And then I was like, all right, they're gonna like actually throw me through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
So yeah, shit like that where you got to work a little bit harder. I feel like in Australia sometimes to get that response, but
Yeah.
yeah, especially
Yeah.
at the very beginning.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's interesting, when you sort of have those experiences and you have a bit of a perspective on sort of both, I guess you could say, musical cultures, I guess. Do you feel that Australia, so do you look at Australia, the Australian music scene a bit differently now because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I look at a lot of Australia differently after that. That being my first time overseas and all that, right? Like, but yeah, definitely. I think I think it'd be hard to put into words, but I really feel like uh, um, Australia might have just a bit to learn. Just
Mm,
like for example, we get over there, and this isn't even the music scene's fault. Like obviously we're trying hard, but we get over there, we get to our hotel, turn on TV, and there's like a it's like German wife swap kind of thing.
yeah.
But the dude's wearing a Cradle of Filth shirt, like showing this family his music and all this shit, and it's like, is this shit like something like that was on every channel? I swear to God, it was
Yeah.
weird. Like they um they just accept metal and stuff over there way better. So
Yeah, I mean that's something that I think a lot of us have picked up on. It seems like it's a bit more embraced over there in I guess a somewhat mainstream sort of perspective, I guess. Which is it's interesting and it certainly makes us look at ourselves and wonder, why do we not support the music the same way that other cultures do? But I guess it's all different cultures, I suppose.
yeah, not wrong. Like I think just a lot of cultures in Europe are big on their music in general. Australia, we maybe just like our grog and fair enough. Like
Yeah.
it is what it is.
So obviously the new album coming out on Friday, Director's Cuts. This is your second release, I believe, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So again, having a sort of another learning experience again, what did you learn from the first recording that you sort of wanted to do on this one?
Um, Mate, a lot really. So the first one we did all ourselves. Just like whipped a lot of demos that we had over a few years into shape, like in the same room and basically start to finish. Did it ourselves. This time around, recorded real drums, for example, had someone outside the band kind of look at the songs for the first time before they were actually out there and
Mm.
and mix them so a lot of experiences like that we kind of had to have this time around just to stretch our wings a little bit, and that like I thought that was really cool. Yeah, and then just on top of that, like we've there was a lot of time in between the first and second one. We like remastered the first one in between, then added on a few songs, but there was a lot of time and all our tastes grew and shit like that. So it was definitely about fucking time we wrote something that was leaning more into what our tastes are like now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a chance to listen to the album. Your publicist sent me a copy, and obviously it's certainly more extreme. I feel to compared to the first release. Was there any intentional effort to kind of make things a little bit more on the extreme end of things, or?
yeah. So uh, I guess yeah, for sure. We wanted to. to pair that though with a bit of clarity this time around, which
Mm,
we didn't really feel like we'd had all that much of last time. Um, Really, aim for hooks, let a lot of riffs breathe, for example,
yeah.
and just trying to create cool moments for us. And like really kind of pay attention to the songwriting and things like that this time around, where maybe in the past we'd like a lot of stuff was Frankenstein together.
Mm.
Uh, a lot of stuff was this time around too, but we learned a bit more this time around.
So you were mentioning about, sort of bringing more of your influences, I guess, to the table. So what kind of influences are we talking about? What kind of stuff sort of really inspired you guys on this album?
Yeah, true. I guess like for me, I listen like me personally, um, I listen to way more maybe rap and hip hop than I do metal these days. So uh, I like incorporating a bit of what I feel like those artists do um, into some of into some of this stuff, and also just looking at much bigger bands and going like, all right, well, like what would fucking Slipknot do
Yeah, yeah.
in moments? You know what I mean? Just like
Mm.
the coolest fucking bands we can think of, the absolute coolest bands we can think of. What the fuck would they do here? Like, um, and just our spin on that. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because everyone has a bit of a different story as far as like the musical journey into, where they end up sort of, making music and stuff. I am curious though, like, what kind of influences did you personally have growing up as a kid, and what made you sort of get into the heavier side of music?
Me personally, man, kind of started out. So there's a lot of what my sister would play, just living in the same house as her. Like she'd play The Offspring and shit like that all day.
Mm.
That got me definitely like I think without that, I could have easily been swayed to fucking dance music or rap music way earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Because I appreciate all that now and have it at stages. But yeah, like it was that, and then I was big into wrestling, and then they'd have like theme songs and for their pay-per-views and for the wrestlers that I'd like yeah like would catch me like really fucking catch me.
Yeah.
I think the first one was like Mudvayne. I really dove into them from a like after a wrestling event and then was like, all right, I almost don't care about anything else now. Like music's got to be
Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. Got to high school and got slapped with like Lamb of God, yeah, Cannibal Corpse, all that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's obviously, looking back on sort of those musical inspirations and influences, and then you sort of get into that world where you end up being, one of those people where you're actually creating your own music. But is it something just from a creative sort of perspective? Do you think about those bands at all when you're sort of sitting there writing music or recording, or has it just become secondary and it's almost like a sort of semi subconscious kind of thing?
Man, it's weird. It's almost like it yeah, to be honest, it's an afterthought in a weird way where like I like to think that we try to channel a lot of these bands when we make music, but it's often afterwards, especially like as this stuff's coming out, you start like comparing it to like the music you love and the music that you like.
Mm,
You hope that this smashes and you're like, fuck, is it gonna do it? Is it gonna like is this even good? Like that's when the obviously like being creative, all that starts to creep around until release day and everyone's stoked, so you're stoked again and shit
yeah,
like that. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So I know that there was some mention or an announcement that you were canceling a tour due to some health reasons, I believe. Was it from you or one of the other band members?
Yeah, that was me. We had to unfortunately cancel our US tour for March because I fucking just on Friday last week got out of a surgery. Pretty intense one. So
Uh,
it sucked ass.
yeah, bad timing, I guess.
But yeah, it was shocking. we got home from Europe, and I was like, all right, because it was in my ear, so the the flight there really wasn't too bad. The flight home actually like kind of knocked me for six. So called up the surgeon. They were like, "Yeah, well, there'll be no flying to the fucking America, that's for sure." And just
Yeah.
um, so I had to pull the brakes on that. But we hopefully like now that that's all done and I'm recovering and be out there as soon as fucking possible because that's another bucket list thing for us for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously, good luck with all that stuff, and hopefully everything works out for you health wise and stuff. And obviously, that's one of the first and foremost important things, especially as a band. These days, I think, especially compared to, back in the day when bands didn't really sort of take care of themselves, and I think these days it's much more important, especially if you want to, be on the road and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's very
Mate,
important for sure.
I appreciate that and fucking absolutely agree. I mean, not just in my case, like my dumbass guitarist smashed his leg on the second night of that European tour. Still hasn't gone to see his specialist because he's just fucking loves to get back to work and forget about it and move on with it. But yeah, I agree.
Mm.
Like we kind of just need to look after that shit if we want to, especially after the experience we just had. You know what I mean? You can't really sustain a month in another country if your health is kind of teetering. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So post album release, and obviously when you get back into touring and stuff, do you have any sort of rough plans or ideas at all for the rest of the year?
yeah, mate, a ton honestly. So like we've kind of rearranged some potential dates for America, which would be cool. What else? Fuck, we want to get back to Europe. Just maybe, like, I don't know. When is it? When's their summer?
Be June, July, August, I believe.
June, July, August. Then
Mm.
fingers crossed. Maybe around then. I don't know. Get back around there. See if we can hit some little festivals and that over there. That'd be cool because we're over there in the winter last time and it was fucking brutal. So
Yeah.
suss their summer out and definitely do a big one in Australia, I think.
Yeah, cool. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you on your home turf as well. And I'm over in WA, so it'd be great to see you come over to our way. I know a lot of bands, can't make it because it's, very cost. It costs a lot of money to get over here and stuff, and a smaller population. But always welcome for any bands to travel over our way for sure.
Mate, I appreciate it. And honestly, we were saying when we were over there to like the Americans and that, because spun them out, us being like, we're in fucking Berlin before we ever made it to Perth. Like, that's crazy. And I feel like we're at the stage we're at now, we got to make it over there. So that's another one this year that if we don't cross off, I'll be mad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, fuck yeah.
Well, congratulations on the new album, and look, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it, and good luck for the rest of the year. Hope it all works out for you.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you for your time.